So Kathy has been at UGI for 3 decades, across the board at marketing, IT, customer service. She's also the executive director at an animal nonprofit that focuses on animal-assisted therapy. So such an interesting combination of roles and a really interesting and worthwhile endeavor. Erica has been at UGI for about 5 years, and most of that time in customer service. She's also getting married in the fall, so congratulations to you, Erica.
Thank you.
It's great to see you both today. So I want to kick off by asking the question, how is CX organized, or the customer experience rather, organized at UGA? Can you talk about your roles?
Sure. I'll start. I am the customer experience lead, and that entails tracking and improving the voice of the customer and the voice of the employee experiences. We have 2 customer experience analysts in our group. We identify areas of improvement in both the internal and external systems and use the Verint data that we're capturing to help improve all of those experiences, internal and external.
Oh, that's great. And I'm sorry. I was just going to make one comment, which is I love the combination of internal and external. I'd love to hear about your role now, Erica.
Sure. So I have responsibility for our contact center, all of our call center reps, as well as our trainers and our quality assurance team. And of course, we work with Kathy's customer experience team as well. We have a variety of different ways that we get customer and employee feedback, like Kathy mentioned. And really what our teams do is work together to kind of process that feedback and decide how we're going to use those insights to take action and improve different things for our customers.
Can you tell me what key metrics you're looking at? Let's start with you, Erica.
Sure. So we have always looked at average handle time as one of the KPIs for our reps. But we've recently tried, made a solid effort to balance that after getting some feedback from our reps and just, as we've learned more about customer service and really the direction that we want to go long term, we realized we don't want to put the emphasis solely on average handle time and then have our reps be so worried about handling calls quickly that they neglect to get all of the customers' issues resolved during that first interaction they have with us. So we've also started to put more of an emphasis on our quality assurance scores and data that we get from the Verint survey. We take components of the questions that are related specifically to the contact center representative that handled the call, and we use that to give them a CSAT score on their scorecard. And what we've done recently is rather than reporting their KPIs in a monthly scorecard format where they have just lines and lines of data, all different performance metrics for how they've done throughout the month, we've started to condense some of those key KPIs into a weighted score. So there's 5 components in that weighted score, but what I think is most beneficial with it is that we have average handle time is an equal weight as both quality assurance and CSAT combined. So to our reps, again, when we rolled that out, we explained, we've heard your feedback on average handle time and the emphasis that we've been putting on it. And so here we want to show you that while we can't just totally disregard that, we're going to balance that out with how you're performing, on your QA evaluations, as well as the post-call surveys that our customers take after their interaction with you. So again, there's a couple other metrics that go into that weighted score, but it helps us to get that comprehensive picture of the rep's performance and also to I don't want to say rank the reps, 1 to 100, but, it kind of gives us a little bit more perspective that, when we're looking at this complete picture, we could have somebody that maybe we thought was a top performer because their average handle time was always very efficient. But when we started factoring in some of these other metrics, maybe that pulled them down a little bit more over the person that takes a little bit longer on the calls, but is always really dedicated to having first call resolution.
And solving the customer's problems like death with the first call resolution.
Yep.
What about you, Kathy?
So I also look at, or actually we also look at overall customer satisfaction and net promoter score, including making sure that the number of, or the percentage of detractors is declining and the percentage of promoters is increasing across all of our metrics. We also have started tracking customer effort score across channels, and we have seen definite improvement in our customers requiring less effort to complete transactions with us, which is exactly what we want. And we're tracking that both on the contact center survey side and on the digital survey side. We also, on the digital side, look at if customers were not able to complete a transaction, what issues did they run into, and how can we fix that for future transactions and minimize effort across all channels.
Who else is looking at all this data?
We actually report a summary overall satisfaction scores, including the information that Erica mentioned, up through our board of directors. We do get data requests from the Public Utility Commission, and we do supply data to them as requested for metrics across customer satisfaction, NPS, effort, whether or not customers would recommend UGI to friends and family. We have that question on all of our surveys as well. So we're tracking that percentage across all of our survey efforts.
Wow. Erica, who takes a look at those scorecards? Is it just the reps themselves? How far up does it go in terms of the data?
So the scorecard is primarily reviewed by the contact center supervisors. They're responsible for inputting some of the data. Some of it's handled by a customer service analyst that we have pulling some of that information, but it's primarily reviewed at the supervisory level, and then they're using that to coach their representatives, identify any training needs they might have, or just any performance issues that we might want to get ahead of with any particular rep.
Now, of course, there's been a huge moment in time, a big change in the world in terms of the pandemic and such. How have the insights that you've been gleaning from your customer experience data served you during this transition, especially work from home?
I think speaking from the call center perspective, it's been important to keep an eye on our post-call survey for kind of two main reasons. One being just to ensure that customer satisfaction stays where we want it to be and that we don't see that decline, that our representatives are doing what they can to help customers who may be in an unfortunate situation due to the pandemic, and that they're really utilizing all of the resources they have, all of the programs we have, and offering that to our customers so that they're satisfied at the end of the call. I think another way we've used it too is just, we have never had such a huge portion of our workforce be remote before. Prior to COVID, we've had, a small team of remote reps, and that changed very quickly last March when we all went remote. So it's been important to keep an eye on our data to make sure that, not just customer satisfaction, but rep performance isn't slipping at all. Things like call quality, we don't see any repeat issues with the same reps over and over again, because we just don't have that same visibility we do when we're in the office and can just go out and, kind of take a walk around the floor and make sure everything's working as expected. So it's definitely helped to give us a little bit of a picture into, just making sure that we're still meeting the same standards, even though we're not physically together in the office.
And I'm curious, Kathy, did you get more requests, or have more people been paying attention to the data that you're gleaning from CX Insights over the pandemic?
We have seen a trend in more people being interested in the data, yes. And it has also, some of the data has also helped us identify a few issues that we had that customers actually told us about before we had recognized them. So one example of that was an issue with our equal monthly payments, that some of the data people were making comments consistently about their dissatisfaction. And that allowed us to get ahead of it a little bit more quickly than if we would have waited too long. We had an issue with our PDF bills not being in our customer-facing portal. And with everyone being more remote, we did see an uptick in our enrollments for our online portal and more people utilizing digital methods. And when we had that issue or an anomaly, we did see a little dip in customer satisfaction because customers could not view the details behind their bill. They could access and pay, but they could not see the PDF. So the data that we've been gathering definitely shows the importance of some of the systems that we have in place, making sure that they're running the way they should be. And then also that customers will tell us when they're not happy. They also tell us when they're happy too. So we've gotten a lot of compliments for different things through our feedback. So we also use it as kudos in some cases to field personnel plus call center representatives.
That must be kind of a nice thing to be able to do. It's pretty easy to give feedback too, digitally, for the contact center, because and that's something that I'm sure the reps appreciate during this really challenging time as well. I'm curious, and I don't think we've actually talked about this prior, but Kathy, you've been at the UGI for a long time, and you've been in a lot of different parts of the organization. What kind of got you into the customer experience space?
So I was on the billing project, the customer relationship and billing project that we implemented in 2017. I was the training lead for that, and a lot of my training was around the customer service team and all of the systems that they had in place and everything. So it was kind of an interesting move. I spent a lot of time in marketing, and this is kind of the other side. While I was in marketing, I was responsible for the UGI.com website initially. And so I worked closely with customer service during that time as well. And I just, from a personal perspective, I like people and I like making people happy. So it just seemed like a really good fit with the diverse background that I had to come to customer service and then get more involved in the customer experience.
I'm guessing too, because you have that experience with .com and you have that connection to customer service, you actually have kind of relationships with the people that actually need to implement change or need to react to the feedback. What about you, Erica? So I know that, you started out obviously as an English major. We've chatted about that before, and you come to the contact center and you've stuck there. What's been kind of keeping you excited about it and connected to the customer and the contact center?
I think I am never bored in this job. And I think that is the reason why, it's just, there's always something new to do. And especially with customer experience, there's always new technologies to learn and new projects we can be working on. And my days go so fast, and there's always something new and a good variety of different things we can be working on and considering and improvements we can make. It's not a role where we're ever going to get to a point where our work is done and we're going to just kind of operate on autopilot, which can be a good and a bad thing. It can be a little overwhelming sometimes to know that there will always be something to work on. But I think that's why I really enjoy this role so much, is the variety and just, always being able to learn and do something new.
Given the fact that, as working at utilities, you both obviously know how to react to crisis, right? Like there's always weather. There's all that you have to react to. So the pandemic was just has been a bigger, longer in a sense, version of that. You mentioned kind of the transition, more people interacting with you digitally. Do you feel like there are more customer changes and internal changes that are going to stick around when things get back to normal?
It seems like it, at least from what we're seeing. And we even had an uptick in our auto pay enrollment and our budget billing. Obviously, we were offering budget billing to customers early on in the pandemic to help them manage some of the expenses. And we had a couple of different, very targeted programs, an emergency relief program that we rolled out last year to help customers that were affected by the pandemic. And I think that we'll continue to see more people relying on digital now that they have used it. And found that it is convenient, and they can not have to wear a mask and go out, to the mailbox and things like that. It's kind of silly, but it seems like we'll sustain these changes for a while.
And obviously, you've also, because you have so many people on digital now, has it been an opportunity to optimize that digital experience for them more so, you think?
It has been, and we do have an upgrade planned for our customer-facing portal, including some enhanced self-service options that we've been working on. But we also are very careful because, not every channel is right for every transaction. So we're going to be taking a deeper dive into some of the CX data, and then also trying to figure out which channels would be best for the different transactions, and then try to get people to those channels immediately, and not have to go through multiple channels to get to transact business with us.
So right channeling instead of pushing everybody to a specific process.
Right. Yeah.
We're actually seeing that a lot in the overall CX data, is that it's not just about digital or in person, it's about convenience, whatever the consumer is looking for. So, on the call center side, some big changes, obviously, Erica. Do you think any of them are going to stick around, or?
So the biggest change being that we're all virtual right now, we are planning to keep a good portion of our staff working remote full time. But once we do have the opportunity to get back into the office, we'll have a lot of folks doing a rotation where they're in the office for a few days a week and then at home for the remainder of the week. And I think it'll kind of be interesting to really dig into the data at that point and, see, are there any differences in how they perform in one environment versus the other? That's something that we will certainly look to in the future. But our day-to-day is certainly going to be a lot different than what it was pre-pandemic. I mean, even how I mentioned the rotation, we've never done anything like that. So it'll be a big learning experience for all of us and, just interesting. But I think, it's a positive thing too. It does give folks a little bit more flexibility and keeps them at home a few days a week, which has been nice, I think, for a lot of people, but then still getting some of that interaction with their peers and direct interaction with their supervisors face to face. So we're excited for that, but it will be, another challenge that we'll have over the next couple of months.